Hey, I'm Pranav, and today I'll show you some chess principles that will instantly make you better than most beginners. So let's get straight into it. So the first principle is gonna be controlling the central squares that are d4, e4, d5, and e5. And the reason why this is so important is because when you open up the center, your bishops and queens can actually see more squares. And what I mean by that is they control more squares, right? So if they play some random move like this one, a6, it doesn't really control any central squares. So that means they're playing passive, and you got to play active by playing like pushing the pawns toward the center by opening your bishop and queen. Alright, so now we know that controlling the center is key, but the next big thing is actually developing your pieces. That's developing your knights and your bishops, right? Because when they are actually not developed, they don't really do much, like they don't take catch of the center or anything like that. But when they actually do, for example, once you play knight to f3, what does it do? Like, what's the point of it, right? It attacks this pawn, and to defend it, you can actually play knight to c6, and this works very, very well all the time. And then you can just keep on adding more pressure towards the center. So this is how it works, right? So, and you also need to clear up the path between the king and the rook because you need to castle, and that's the next principle. All right, so we have controlled the center and we have developed our pieces. So the next step is to castle the king. And it may sound weird, but castling is actually the best way to protect the king. And castling is actually a special move that can only be done once in the game that can help you switch the sides between the king and the rook that basically tucks the king behind these three pawns. So once they play a move, you can actually castle if you have space in between your king and your rook. And by castling, you actually protect the king behind these three pawns, and that's away from the center. That's usually where all the attacking stuff and all those kind of nonsense happens. So the first opening trap that I'm gonna be talking about is called the fried liver attack that basically starts after the Italian opening, that is e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4, knight f6, and knight g5 initiates the fried liver attack. And the only way to defend against it is by playing your pawn to d5, and that's offering the pawn over here as a trade. But once I take on d5, you can't really take back with your knight on d5 because after you take, there's this brilliant sacrifice on f7 that after looking at this, you might go like, it's just a free knight, come on, the knight can be just captured by the king, right? And it's also forced because it's forking the queen and the rook. That means if one of them moves, the other one gets captured. So once king takes, then you can play queen to f3 check, and again this forks the king and the knight. So, and many beginners actually make the common mistake of going to g8, thinking that they are kind of boxed between the bishop, pawns, and the rook, and their king is safe, but it's actually the opposite. And it's checkmate in three moves. That is, after you could actually take with the queen or the bishop, you could take the knight with the queen or the bishop. Once you do this, the queen takes the bishop because that's forced and the king is boxed. And queen takes, bishop e6, queen takes e6 is checkmate. And you might as well ask, what is the point of the fried liver attack? Like, what is it actually attacking, right? What does it threaten to do if you don't defend against it by playing d5? So, what you see is this knight and this bishop are attacking at this square. So, the only way to cut the bishop's sight to this square is by playing this d5 move, right? And the only move that works for you is to take, obviously. And actually, the proper way to defend against it is not by taking the pawn over here, but instead by playing your knight to a5 and then threatening to take white's bishop. And then they give this check. You can go here, and then it's just takes, and then doesn't matter what you do. It's a normal game from here on. But let's say after they 1 second. So if they take over here, then you can take here, right? And then queen f3 check comes in. And let's say they don't go here and they know the basic stuff of this attack that they shouldn't go there. And instead they go here. And this is actually the only move that works because it protects the knight as well. You can add more pressure to the knight by playing knight c3, and then they can the only move that clings on to their knight is them playing knight b4, right? And one more thing, if you see that, if you observe, you can actually play a3, right? Like it attacks this knight. That is the defender of this knight, so this knight will have to move and you can take this knight. But once you go here, they have this fork, so never make the mistake of hanging this fork, right? So instead of a3, you got to protect your king first because their king isn't protected enough. So as I said, you should castle, and once you castle, there's actually only one move for them. That is this, that actually threatens to kick away your bishop, as well as it defends this knight over here. So and then you can play d4 and whatnot. There is a million ideas that spawn, but if if they play a6 threatening to play b5, then you can see that it's a blunder because you can kick out the knight, and even if you think that they can take the knight, like they can take the pawn over here, you can take their knight with the check, and that's the difference, right? It comes with a check. If it wasn't for a check, then they could have taken your rook, right? So and then you're just winning from here because you have your bishop, knight, and queen all staring at the king, all threatening, attacking on the king, and their king is not castle, and they have an isolated pawn up here, right? All right, so that's it for the video, guys, and thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I fumbled a lot during the video, but I'm really sorry, and I promise my next videos are gonna be really good. And I would really appreciate it if you guys could comment below any feedback or any topics about which you would want me to discuss, like strategy, opening, anything actually for that matter. So, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and so that you can come across more of these kind of videos, so that you could learn chess and get better at chess. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.